Okay, let's call this meeting to order. City of North Kansas City, Missouri, regular council meeting. And I guess we've decided not to close part for the,
Correct, sir. So we would like to hold one of the executive sessions, but not the second one.
oh, okay. All right, can I have a moment of silence? Comments from the public?
Good evening. My name is Joe Gower. Live up at 30th and Swift, and I'm one of the co-founders of the River North District. We came down and addressed you folks here a couple weeks ago for the last meeting. Kaylee Rangel, our executive director, and myself sat down and just kind of gave a point-by-point of what we're doing with River North. After that, we had to each kind of take off for the night, but there were some public comments afterwards that I was directed to on the YouTube channel. I was able to take in from Mindy Hart, and I wanted to, I guess, come here today and sort of set the record straight on a lot of those comments, mostly because Mindy is a professional marketer, and so standing up here, it's more than just public comments. It's the opinion of a professional. And I wanted to take some of the points that were her concerns and address them and maybe set them straight. Number one is, I think her chief concern was things that compared us to like the Cordish Company's Power and Light District and how master planned districts are failing all over the place and they're bad investments for government, that kind of stuff. We don't think that applies at all to what we're doing. We're the difference between us and a master plan district, we're not going in, we're not developing anything, we're not asking anybody for money. This is a nonprofit business league made up of existing businesses that are already here, locally owned small businesses. So I don't quite get that comparison or trying to tie that into some of the trends going on across the country with master plan districts. You know, the other thing is that we don't exist to be against the One North District. We banded together as an answer to it. We realize that One North has its own marketing funds, and they will have their own individual One North website. That website will only promote the businesses in the One North District, and that's completely fair. That's just business. We understand that. So what we want to do with River North is to define the district where visitors can come and they can find locally owned businesses in North Kansas City for that, you know, have the things that they're coming to look for, shops and restaurants and all of that. So, I mean, those are the major things. We're not looking to come in and build anything that is different than what's already popped up over the last 5 years. If you like what's popped up along there over the last 5 years, those are the kinds of businesses we're looking to support. They're small businesses, they're locally owned, many by North Kansas City residents. So it was about creating an alliance and being able to have all of them kind of pool resources and be able to, I guess, work together as an industry for the betterment of everyone in the district. So anyway, that's all I had to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
Liz, you're the only other one. Richard. Okay, moving on. Consent agenda.
I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, number 9.
Calendar year 2019 water and sewer rates.
Eric.
Thank you, sir. Staff is preparing now, working on your fiscal year 2019 budget to propose to you in mid-August. And for that reason, we are now seeking your direction tonight as to what we should assume for water and sewer rates in the coming calendar year, where our structure goes by calendar year, not fiscal year. So this would be for fiscal year, or rather calendar year 2019. As you'll recall, we discovered a problem in April of 2017 with our mag meter, sort of our master meter, that it was undercounting the volume of flow that was going through it, and as a result, when we replaced that mag meter, our sewer charges to Kansas City did begin increasing very substantially as the proper measurement was occurring. And as a result of that, our fund balance also dipped very substantially below the 25% of operating expenditures that it's the city's policy to try to maintain in each of our operating funds. So as we look to a rate to recommend to you for the coming calendar year, starting with sewer. In the Raftelis was a consultant that we hired last year to do a rate study, and when they gave us that study, they indicated that they felt that we should assume that Kansas City, Missouri would increase the rate that it charges to North Kansas City each year by 10%. As you know, Kansas City has a substantial problem with its combined sewers that is increasing its costs, and it's right now the only source that they've identified is customers, both their regular household customers as well as their wholesale customers like us. The rates that we do pay to the sewer charges that we do pay to Kansas City comprise 72% of the water pollution control budget, our sewer budget. So to try to cover the projected increase by Kansas City and to begin restoring the fund balance in the Water Pollution Control Fund, staff is recommending a 12% increase in sewer rates next year. If the council were to direct that, then we would estimate that that would leave a fund balance at the end of fiscal year 2019 of about 19% of budgeted operating expenses in the fund. So at the time when we discussed this last year, we indicated that it would be our recommendation that we try to gradually bring that fund balance up, not try to do it all in 1 year. And so that is what a 12% increase would accomplish. We do recognize that a 12% increase in sewer rates is very substantial. In order to try to mitigate that, we took a look at where we are in the water fund. And in contrast to the WPC fund, the water fund balance is in very good shape. In fact, it's at 183% of operating expenses currently versus the 25% that's our target as a minimum rate. So we thought that this might be an opportunity in order to try to offset the effects of the sewer increase to customers to try to reduce the water rate. And we are suggesting reducing that water rate by 5% for city water users. And in doing this, we would decrease our fund balance compared to operating expenditures to about 128%. So we would reduce our fund balance requirement substantially, but it would still be really very healthy, and it might be an opportunity for another decrease next year, although we wouldn't want to commit to that recommendation tonight. Our calculation then is that if you were to agree with the recommendation, increase sewer rates by 12%, decrease water rates by 5%, that would amount to an overall typical average increase of 4.52%. Now, different customers are different, but that's in general what we think we would manage to accomplish with that level of increase for sewer and that level of decrease for water, and that's what we're recommending to you tonight. So I'll pause at this point and try to answer Shirley, or I can try to answer any questions that you may have.
After talking to some of our big users, didn't they kind of agree to this, this kind of approach would be all right with them?
Well, what we to discuss something a little bit different, we were talking about the pollution rate. When we charge for pollutants, and we did We did not increase it as far as we could have, but this is a different thing. This is for overall usage for both water and sewer customers.
So there's 63% higher than 63% higher volumes than the year before. Is that still held? Because that was the same number used in March. Has that held since then as well? Are we still looking at that kind of?
You know, I don't know the answer to that tonight, sir. We can
All
look
right,
into that.
that's okay. That's okay. And then, do you know in Kansas City, have they discussed their rates for next year yet?
We usually get their rate increases in like April or May.
Okay.
So I
Oh, so
don't
it's
think
just
we
kind of
have,
a-
yeah, I don't think
okay.
we had. Last year, the increase was about 7%, if I remember correctly. So if in fact Kansas City raises its, increases its rates, let's say less than that 10%, we can adjust it next year. That's the one beauty of doing this on an annual basis, is that we can make adjustments, depending upon what Kansas City does, and we could reduce the rate if they didn't increase it as much as we're anticipating.
Great. Thank you.
So the next expected increase, or the next expected, they check it every April or May, so we wouldn't get when would they look at it again?
So I think we usually get the notification, I believe it takes effect May 1st. So we usually get the notification in, I guess, maybe late March, early April, sometime around then.
Okay.
We don't usually have much of an indication before that as to what they're going to do. That's
Right.
usually our first notification.
Thank you, and I think it's important that people realize that, when our sewage, we're at Kansas City's mercy on the rates and the increases, but I do like how staff has brought it to us for once a year looking at it, so. I'm in support of it.
Oh, I just say I certainly appreciate being able to see you guys put in research on both the water and sewer rate to get it down to that 4.52%. So thanks for your work on that.
I think it would be a lot easier for us to explain to the people we represent. And I think they'll be really appreciative of the fact that you've taken those two things into account. Because everybody will mention it if they get a little bit of an increase. So this will be a lot easier to talk to people about. Thank you.
No, I didn't do anything.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So just to let you know the next steps, we will plan on those numbers for the fiscal year 2019 budget. And now the next step, we would notice up a public hearing for the increase in sewer rates. That's required by law. For some reason, there's no law requiring a public hearing for increases in water rates, but we would, plan on doing that public hearing in time for the calendar year 2019 year, but we probably won't delay now that we have your direction. So, thank you.
Number 10.
First Amendment to Performance Agreement, Chapter 100 Plan, Max Swift LLC, Bill number 7300, ordinance number 9097.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. In September 2017, Max Swift, which is the company that was formed to build the new building at 1425 Swift, was granted a Chapter 100 property tax abatement. And the financing closed in October of 2017, and the agreement that was made was essentially for a tax abatement of 50% for 5 years. An issue arose there as part of a Chapter 100 approval. One of the things that the city does is enter into a performance agreement with the company, and usually the performance agreement provides that the property tax abatement will be based upon the assessment that the county makes of the value of the property. For some reason, the performance agreement that bond counsel prepared for us, in this case, it did not contain that particular provision. And so we discovered a few months ago that the county was declining to appraise that particular property because in a Chapter 100 transaction, the property is owned by the city. And then in name only, but still it is owned by the city, and the county doesn't appraise government-owned property because that's tax exempt. There's no need, they feel, unless there is an agreement of some sort that requires them to do it, which in this case there wasn't. So when we discovered that, we approached bond counsel, and our financial advisor worked on this, and bond counsel is not charging us for the work necessary to amend the performance agreement because they were the ones who had drafted in the first place. But the solution that we've come to is that an appraisal was done of the property that I believe is appropriate and acceptable, and the company is simply agreeing to pay directly to the city the amounts that we had essentially been calculating as payments in lieu of tax under the previous agreement. This way, the county assessor simply doesn't have to appraise the property. The property owner is agreeing to pay certain amounts as we've laid out in the memo and in the amendment to the performance agreement that you have in front of you. So that is the reason for this item that's before you, and we do recommend approval.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance approving a First Amendment to performance agreement between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Max Swift LLC, and authorizing the mayor to execute said agreement and amendments on behalf of the city.
I move that bill number 7300 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9097.
Second.
Call the roll?
Councilmember Clevenger.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart.
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen.
Yes.
Councilmember Farr.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong.
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce.
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman.
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders.
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance approving a First Amendment to performance agreement between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Max Swift LLC, and authorizing the mayor to execute said agreement and amendments on behalf of the city.
Number 11.
Approving accounts due and payable by the city through July 13th, 2018. Bill number 7301, ordinance number 9098.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through July 13th, 2018.
I move that bill number 7301 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9098.
Second.
Call the roll?
Councilmember Clevenger.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart.
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen.
Yes.
Councilmember Farr.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong.
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce.
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman. Yes. Councilmember Sanders.
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through July 13th, 2018.
Mr. Eric?
Thank you, sir. In your packet are a couple of items. One, the upcoming city items of note, and then the monthly financial report for the North Kansas City YMCA for the months of May and June 2018. That's all we have, sir.
Zach, you're up.
Okay. Not a whole lot tonight either. Just first of all, welcome Jane Quick to the North Kansas City Library Board. So welcome to her. And I want to also thank again the Levy District for coming in, letting us know what they do and giving us information and prognosis on the levy. Also wanted to commend our police officers and our people that are training, our officers in training. Had an interaction with them on Sunday. Don't worry, I didn't get in trouble, but we did get a little tap on the rear end of our car, and the police came out and helped us out, and the officers were there, and the officers in training were there, and they did a good job, pretty much handled the call. So appreciative of that. And that's all I have tonight. I wasn't driving, by the way. So.
I was going to ask you that. The only thing I have is maybe, probably a few, Pat, you might want to make a note. 1000 block of 25th Street, there's First Wednesday stuff out. Person may be moving, I don't know, but it's a lot of stuff, and it's just, it's not supposed to be there. And other than that, we got a break today, I think, on the temperature. That certainly felt good. I know the trash company's been having a hard time making their schedule on that heat. I hope people kind of give them a break now and then, because if they miss, because there's not much of the public here tonight, but if they miss you on a Tuesday or Friday, they're there the next morning, bright and early, to make up for it. So if you got neighbors and stuff, tell them just not go off the deep end until the next morning. There's a reason. There's always a reason they didn't come. It's not because they just didn't want to do it. Yeah, they came early today on both trucks. It's two separate trucks today. So, all righty, that's all I have.
Yeah. I'd also like to thank Jan Quick for services she's going to give to the library board. I'll just mention that upcoming event is there's a movie on the 27th in Mackin Park. It says 8:30. Usually they start at dusk. Should be a nice event. And I'll mention one other thing. I don't know. I'm reluctant to mention this, but yesterday, I don't know, about 3, 4 o'clock, my online access to the internet went out. And I just found out late today that someone cut the line. That's why we had it. So there might be problems with your internet, gaining access to the internet for some people, especially who live where I do, because someone cut the cable line. That's all I have.
Well, lucky enough today, they decided to pave Armour Road and Highway 1, so we don't have any more huge alley-oops and alley-oops going up. Asphalt's all down, all I gotta do is stripe it, so hallelujah for that. That's all.
Nothing tonight.
I want to thank Pat and his staff. We're thrilled with the roads in Ward 1. They look really, really nice. It's just dressed up the entire neighborhood. I look forward to when you hit my street, but that's okay. I know it's coming. And the residents are really appreciative. There's a lot of comment about it, and it's all been positive.
We do appreciate that. It is the North Kansas City Special Road District that does that work.
Okay. Well,
I was
never
going to point that out.
Oh, yeah, I figured the mayor would get all over me. Anyway, it looks great.
I'd like to just say thank you to the Levy District for coming in and talking with us today. That was great information. It made me want to go out and buy flood insurance right away. But it was good information. And thank you, Joe, for your comments earlier, and welcome to Jane Quick on the library board. That's it for me tonight.
I'd like to thank Pat, too. Pat, you do a bang-up job. When you're asked to do something, to look into something, you do it. And I really appreciate your abilities to take care of things. You're, in my opinion, a good asset to this city. Thank you. That's all
I might point out through the years, the road district has always kind of said the city's done it. That way, if it goes bad, we don't get blamed. That's all I got. Okay.
Number 15, consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the city councilor to be held on this date on a litigation matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statutes, Section 610.0211.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yep.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now I need someone for number 16 to make a motion that we remove it.
I move that we remove item number 16 off tonight's agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I think we should do a roll call. Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.